I am the stepmother, 47 female, of a now 26-year-old woman. I've been her stepmom since she was 8, but she left in her high school years to go live with her mother and then came back at 18 after biomom abandoned her. Stepdaughter did not have any money for college. Her biomom drained her college fund during the divorce, and the only thing left in there was about $1,000 from her grandparents sending for her birthdays, etc. We paid for her community college and did not expect her to do well, since she has a 2.3 GPA in high school. To our surprise, she graduated community college with honors and a 4.0 GPA. FAFSA would not give her any money due to mine and my husband's income. We paid for her community college. She insisted on moving out for university instead of commuting. It's only about an hour each way. She complained constantly about having to work 3 jobs, though one was during the holidays. She had what she called a mental breakdown and ended up in the hospital for a week, missing work, and came up about $50 short on a payment for school. She swore up and down that her university would not allow her to take any more classes, with even a $1 deficit, so she needed the payment. She begged me and my husband for money. Her mother was not good with money, filed for bankruptcy twice, and I don't think she is either, especially with multiple jobs. We told her to get a loan. She tried to get one from the bank, but they would not give her one without a cosigner. My husband co-signed, even though I asked him not to. The lowest amount they would give her was $2,000. She took it. She used the remaining for the next semester, finished out the school year, and immediately moved away and cut contact with us for some reason. She was paying a bit on her loan, but my husband, 50s male, me and our son wanted to buy a second house, so we paid off the loan for her and informed her that we were now the bank, and she was going to pay us. She was unhappy about this from the start. From then, she dropped contact with us several times and moved all over the country. She's settled now and wants to reconnect with her family, even her mom, apparently. Last time she did this, we talked to her about the loan. She tried to suggest picking up her old pay schedule, $100 a month, and was shocked and, evidently, offended that the loan has increased with interest, and it would take her 5 to 7 years to pay it off. She was angry at us and cut contact again. It's been about a year, and she is talking to us again. I want to bring the loan up, but my husband is urging me not to. I think we might have a right to that money as she carelessly took out the loan in the first place. He says that he doesn't think it's fair anymore. I told him that she seems untrustworthy, and I don't really want her back in our lives until she's shown that we can trust her again. He wants a relationship with her, and I feel we are at an impasse. Is it fair to have stepdaughter pay off this loan with us? Would you co-sign on a loan for your kids? What do you do when kids don't pay? Am I reading this correctly? She only needed $50, which somehow turned into a $2,000 loan with interest? This is strange. I mean, it's very possible she would have turned against you guys anyways, since she was already troubled and boomeranging between parents, and as we know, throwing money at adult kids doesn't help the relationship. But it's a bit perplexing, this loan business. Honestly, I suggest you let your husband tell stepdaughter that you've both discussed it and decided to forgive her remaining balance, because the whole thing was needlessly complicated, and it's time for a clean slate. But behind the scenes, make him replace the money in your accounts, out of his own discretionary funds. That way, you haven't lost anything because of his daughter, but you both look like the bigger person. This poor young woman has been badly failed by all the adults in her life. You two had enough income that she qualified for 0 financial aid, and you can't give her $50 freaking for school after her mom drained her college fund. That is absolutely despicable. You paid off her loan because you wanted a second home. Be ducking for real. You could have done the bare minimum and help her the first time around, but chose to be like this and pretend to have some moral superiority over a woman who seems to have worked her butt off all her life. I sincerely hope she stays away from you for good, because no one needs a family who thinks like this, and that her father works on being there for his daughter. You don't sound like you even like her. I, 23 female, recently moved in with my boyfriend. I have a toddler son from a previous relationship, and my fiancé offered to hire a nanny to help with childcare. My boyfriend splits his time between New York and LA, while my primary residence is in Los Angeles. Next month will be the first time since I moved in, and we got our nanny that our entire family would be traveling to New York. My boyfriend and his daughter, 18, are used to traveling in first class, and I obviously wanted to be close to him on the flight. Our nanny, 46 female, would be coming with us since we'd be staying for a couple months. First-class tickets are expensive, and considering what we paid our nanny, I felt that it would be prudent to save our money, especially because this wasn't a long international flight. After some thinking, I thought that it would be best to buy 2 economy seats, one for the nanny and one for my toddler. The plan was that if my son became fussy because he missed me, the nanny could occasionally bring him up to see me. I tell her about the travel plans when she came into work yesterday. She starts complaining that she didn't think that it was a good idea to put her and my son in economy. She said she would be shuttling my son back and forth, and that's a lot of added stress for both her and my son, and that it might inconvenience the flight attendants or other passengers. She adds that she's rarely ever had an employer separate the nanny and child from the parents, and in the families that do, the kids feel a back-of-the-bus mentality. She said that with other families, if the 3 adults were in first class, the kids and nanny were too, or everybody was economy. I was pretty offended that she basically implied that she was entitled to a first-class seat just because my boyfriend and our family were in one. I told her that I have previously worked as a waitress. I've staffed black tie, very lavish events, but I was rarely ever allowed to have any of the food or partake in any of the activities, nor did I feel entitled to. I said that I don't really appreciate her princess mentality, and I think it's kind of princess-like to feel offended about not being in first class like her employers and projecting it through what my son might feel. My nanny's face turned red, and she abruptly apologized and excused herself and went to greet my son. Am I the a-hole? My boyfriend was silent through the entire interaction, except to say he trusts my judgment. I asked my boyfriend if I'd gone too far, and he said the princess comment might have been the sticker, but when I asked if he thought I should apologize, he said it's probably fine. Am I the a-hole for speaking my mind to my nanny? I do plan on buying the tickets the way I planned, because I think I now have the responsibility to use our money wisely, and my boyfriend always talks about being financially prudent. You're the a-hole. From your post, it sounded like she was providing you with advice based on her experience. After you said no and gave her a nickname, she stayed composed and professional and went to greet your son. The name-calling is very childish, and you are in a very privileged position for a 23-year-old. You need to apologize to your nanny, especially if she is good with your son. Otherwise, if you continue with your attitude, she'll simply find another job. You're the a-hole. You condescended this woman for making a valid point. Everyone on that plane is going to hate you, her, and your kid. Also, you're going to separate yourself from your toddler in an incredibly stressful situation for your child, which is super messed up. And finally, and definitely not least of all, you're flying your toddler across the country during a virus. Massive, you're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. You sound very gauche and tacky. Ugh. The nanny could occasionally bring him up to see me. Have you flown first class before? Not all airlines are fine with nannies bringing up kids from the back like that. There are rules. It's not your plane. She said she would be shuttling my son back and forth, and that's a lot of added stress for both her and my son, and that it might inconvenience the flight attendants or other passengers. She's right. Total pain for everyone. Calling her a princess for speaking up was bag out of line. You do not speak to your household staff like that, ever. It's disgusting. I get the feeling you weren't raised with staff and aren't particularly familiar with this kind of world. You need to get your act together on the etiquette front, or you're going to stick out like a sore thumb and become a laughingstock. My son, 17 male, and his girlfriend, 18 female, have been dating for 2 years and known each other since 3rd and 4th grade. He's a senior and she's a freshman, college. She's a sweet girl. However, I don't think teen relationships should be serious like theirs has become. Teen dating should only be about discovering what you like. We live in a well-off neighborhood, not because we're wealthy, but because we have 4 adults together in this household, and we put our salaries together. Me, my husband, my sister, my mom. My son is my only child. We think generational wealth is important, and we've begun trying to ensure that the future generations in our family are well off. We're strict on our son about his education for this reason. A few miles away from us is a neighborhood where the actual wealthy folks are. There's a girl, 18 female, whose family all consists of millionaires, and she's interested in my son. They met when we went through her neighborhood looking for our dog that got loose. We found her. She exchanged numbers with him and told him she'd call if she ever saw her. She ended up spotting her and texted him about it. This was a month ago, and they've become friends since then. She's always flirting, but my son hasn't picked up on it. He's very serious about his girlfriend. I personally think that he's wasting his youth being focused on a serious relationship. Yesterday, I called the girl telling her my son would take her on a date. Then I told him that she wants to hang out with him, and I told her he would. He got upset with me for making plans behind his back. I explained that while I understand he's been with his girlfriend for years, young couples have high divorce rates. They want to explore their options. I told him I think it'd be smart to end this relationship. I also mentioned that it's a bit weird for someone in college to be dating someone still in high school, whereas the other girl is in high school too. He was hurt by my words and told me he had nothing to say. I asked him for some input. He asked why I never cared about him exploring his options. He did the finger quotes before. I told him I've always cared, but was just never vocal about it. He asked if it's because we want him to get with the rich girl for her money, so we can leech off her. I tried to say that's not true, but he walked off without letting me finish. I yelled at him for the disrespect, and he told me he was disrespected first. My son hasn't spoken to me since we had our argument. He is very upset, but I was not wrong. He may not like thinking about it, but I can guarantee you his girlfriend is interested in the college boys around her. I'm just trying to save him from heartbreak. You're the a-hole. You went behind his back. And since you say that he needs to explore the other options, don't you think that he should experience heartbreak as well? After all, it is his life. And I see why he thinks that you want to leech off the rich girl's family. You did nothing about this topic before, and a rich family appears, and you want him to break up with his girlfriend. You're the a-hole. Dude, you're weird. Get out of your son's life and let him work it out on his own. He might go through heartbreak, or he might be with his girlfriend forever, and you'll look like the a-hole who wasn't supportive. You can't try to control your 17-year-old this way. So weird. You're the a-hole. Such the a-hole. Let me tell you, as a rich girl with incredibly well-off parents, the family wealth stays in the family, forever and ever. You seem to have this idea that if your son hooks up with a rich girl, he will be set. Nope. He may have some easier times, like connections to jobs he may otherwise not have had, but that's about it. Prenups get signed, trusts get established, and the money follows the family line. When children are born, new trusts are established. If a divorce happened, the person who married in leaves with only what they brought or made during the marriage. Rich people protect their money, and protect it hard, especially from people who are out just for the money, which clearly you are. I, 23 male, am dating my boyfriend, 19 male, for a year, and he struggles a bit in social settings and can come off as rude sometimes. My sister, 27 female, has had a cat ever since she moved out. Our parents didn't allow pets, who has now unfortunately passed away. My sister came to visit me a couple of days ago and kept talking about how much she's grieving her cat, and even now she's still crying at nights over it. My boyfriend overheard and told her, "Isn't it kind of embarrassing for an adult to cry over a cat? Just get another one." My sister didn't take it well and started berating him and raising her voice at him. He also struggles with people yelling because of his aggressive dad, and at some point called him soulless, to which my boyfriend replied that he's at least not a dumb woman like her. I tried to calm things down as much as I could, but the damage was already done, and my sister left in tears. I tried to lecture my boyfriend about what he said, but he didn't seem like he was listening to me, so I just gave up. I thought we'd smooth things over later once my sister calms down, but I just found out that she banned my boyfriend from the upcoming Easter party she's gonna host, and said that if I try to bring him regardless, she'll cut me off from her life too. I said that she's overreacting, and she knows my boyfriend is a bit standoffish, but doesn't mean any harm, and I could make him apologize for what he said to her. But she said she's had enough of that jerk insulting her and everyone from our family, and she knows he never means any of his half-hearted apologies, and only tells them for my sake. She told me that I can spend time with my family, or keep being that butthole's personal public defender, and then hung up, which I think was uncalled for. My boyfriend does sometimes say things that can come across as rude, but he doesn't mean them, and my family was being understanding. But it seems like now that went out the window now with my sister. I know I defend my boyfriend a lot, but I feel nobody understands him like I do, though I might have come across as an enabler of his bad behavior to a couple of people. Am I the a-hole? Correct me if I'm wrong. Your boyfriend is a human being able to talk and to not talk, right? Your boyfriend offends your sister and other parts of your family often, constantly, right? You said you are defending him a lot. Your human boyfriend, who has the capacity to just shut the duck up, makes conscious choices to speak up and offend people around him constantly, right? Yes, you're the a-hole. You are the a-hole to yourself, to your family, and to your sister in particular here. You're the a-hole. Since when was a little standoffish code for rude as duck? Last I checked, a little standoffish is a phrase to describe people who are quiet in a way that may seem a bit aloof. Struggles in social settings is usually for people who are uncomfortable in social settings and may say something a teeny bit inappropriate sometimes in terms of timing and missing cues. None of these things are phrases meant for people who say things like, "Isn't it embarrassing to grieve a pet?" which even those types of people don't have problems identifying as wrong. Whew boy, you're the a-hole. What he said about her cat is enough reason for her to never want to be around him again, unless he profusely apologizes and agrees to start using a filter before he lets things out of his mouth. You should back your sister up on this, not gaslight her into thinking the loss of her pet is insignificant. I would be furious at anyone who tried to downplay my grief over the loss of my pets. They're my little BFFs forever, and no one is allowed to discount the grief of their loss. Apologize to your sister immediately, and maybe think about getting a more emotionally mature boyfriend.